Get comfortable. Has to offer.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
It begins with a sudden silence broken only by the chilling words, Charlie Kirk, one of the closest allies and most powerful voices of the MAGA movement, has just been shot. For millions of Americans, that single headline feels like a jolt of electricity. It's not just news, it's a direct strike at the very heart of conservative politics. But as the chaos unfolds, one question hangs heavy in the air. Was this a random, senseless act of violence? Or is it part of something much bigger? A calculated plan designed to target the key figures who surround Donald Trump. The urgency is impossible to ignore. The danger feels immediate, and the disbelief palpable. This is not just about one man. This is about a movement, a voice, a symbol of defiance against the political establishment. So who is Charlie Kirk, and why would someone want him silenced? Charlie Kirk is no ordinary commentator. He is the founder of Turning Point USA, a conservative organization that has reshaped the political landscape for America's younger generation. His mission has been crystal clear: to challenge the dominance of liberal ideologies on college campuses and to inspire a new wave of conservative activism. Over the past decade, his work has turned him into one of the most recognizable defenders of Trump's vision for America. For Donald Trump, Kirk has been more than just a supporter. He has been a loyal shield, relentlessly defending the former president's image, amplifying his policies, and rallying young conservatives to see Trump as the man capable of reshaping America's future. Kirk's influence extends far beyond the walls of political conferences. His voice has reached millions through television appearances, viral social media campaigns, and fiery speeches delivered to roaring crowds. To his supporters, he is not just a political activist, he is a cultural warrior. To his critics, he is a polarizing, dangerous figure who has stoked division. But regardless of perspective, no one can deny his reach, his power, and the weight of his presence in American politics. And now news breaks that this very man has been gunned down. It happened suddenly in a moment no one could have predicted. According to early reports, the shooting took place at a public event late in the evening. The crowd had gathered, buzzing with anticipation, when the sharp crack of gunfire tore through the air. Witnesses described panicked people ducking, screaming, and scrambling for safety as the chaos spread like wildfire. Some recall the echo of multiple shots. Others insist it was just one, but all agree on the chilling silence that followed. Then came the rush. Sirens screamed in the distance, ambulances forced their way through the terrified crowd, and first responders sprinted toward the fallen figure of Charlie Kirk. For those close enough to see the image, will never leave them a man who had spent years commanding stages with confidence and authority, now lying still, surrounded by frantic medics fighting to stabilize him. The world now waits for answers. Is Charlie Kirk clinging to life in critical condition, or has the worst already happened? Has the conservative movement lost one of its most visible champions, or will he survive only to emerge more powerful, more symbolic than before? One thing is certain: this is no ordinary story. This is a moment that could change the political battlefield forever. The scene, when pieced together from frantic eyewitness accounts, feels like something torn from a political thriller. The shooter, according to multiple reports, positioned himself near the edge of the venue, close enough for a clear line of sight, but far enough to blend into the crowd. The first shot cracked like a whip, echoing across the open space. Then another, and another. Some claim there were 3 rounds. Others swear it was more. But one fact remains undisputed: the bullets were aimed directly at Charlie Kirk. Police officers rushed in, weapons drawn, as chaos erupted. Within minutes, the FBI arrived, cordoning off the area, combing through shell casings, confiscating phones, and demanding witness statements. The investigation was underway. Yet even in those first moments, the air was thick with suspicion. Was this a lone actor, a deranged individual, motivated by personal hatred? Or was this something larger, orchestrated with chilling precision by forces who want to cripple the MAGA movement at its core? As the sirens faded, the political shockwaves began. The MAGA community, fiercely loyal to its leaders, erupted in anger and fear. Supporters of Donald Trump flooded the streets outside hospitals, lit candles at vigils, and demanded answers. Online hashtags like Demmer Pray for Charlie and MAG Under Attack trended within minutes, uniting millions in both prayer and outrage. For them, this wasn't just an attack on Charlie Kirk, it was an attack on the very heart of their movement. Meanwhile, the mainstream media wasted no time. Networks interrupted programming with breaking news banners, analysts speculated live on air, and headlines blared across every platform. Was this a targeted political hit, a warning, or the beginning of a new wave of violence against conservative leaders? On Twitter, X, and Truth Social, the debates raged like wildfire. And as the dust settled, an unsettling question echoed: could this be a message not just to Charlie Kirk, but to the entire MAGA movement? Then slowly fragments of information about the alleged shooter began to surface. Authorities hinted at an identity, though they remained frustratingly vague. Was he a radical with ties to extremist groups, a politically motivated assassin, or perhaps a disposable pawn someone pushed into action only to take the fall, while the real mastermind stayed hidden in the shadows? Early leaks suggested conflicting motives. Some said the attacker had personal grievances. Others whispered about political connections. Yet no official confirmation came. Instead, the investigation grew murkier. Press briefings revealed little. Journalists pressed for details, but officials responded with carefully scripted lines. It's too early to draw conclusions. This lack of clarity only fueled speculation. Was the government concealing uncomfortable truths? Were investigators deliberately stalling, hoping the story would fade from the spotlight? Or was the situation truly so complex that no easy answers could yet be found? In the end, what emerged was not a clear picture, but a fog of uncertainty. The shooter's face may have been captured, his name perhaps whispered, but his motives remained cloaked in mystery. For now, the only certainty was that a line had been crossed, a conservative firebrand had been targeted. The MAGA community was on edge, and America found itself staring at a chilling possibility. This was no accident. This was a warning shot, and the question still lingers: who pulled the strings? The memory is still raw. Not long ago, America watched in horror as Donald Trump himself narrowly escaped death. The images remain seared into the nation's collective mind. The former president, blood streaming down his face, his expression one of shock and defiance as Secret Service agents swarmed him and rushed him from the stage. It was a moment that froze time, proof of just how close the country had come to losing one of its most polarizing leaders. For Trump supporters, it was more than a tragedy averted. It was a wake-up call. And now, as news of Charlie Kirk's shooting spreads, a chilling question resurfaces. Is someone deliberately targeting the MAGA movement's most influential figures? When you look at both attacks side by side, the parallels are haunting. Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk may differ in age and position, but they share a vital common thread. Each stands as a towering voice for the right, a pillar of the MAGA movement. Trump, the figurehead who reshaped the Republican Party. Kirk, the youthful strategist who rallied the next generation of conservatives. Both men, loved and hated in equal measure, represent not just individuals, but an ideology. And in recent months, both have found themselves in the crosshairs. This raises a disturbing possibility. Could these incidents be part of a broader strategy, a silent campaign designed to dismantle the MAGA infrastructure, one figure at a time? It would not be the first time history has seen such tactics. Silencing leaders has always been the most direct way to fracture a movement. And if that's the case here, then Trump's bloodied face and Kirk's collapsed body are not random tragedies. They are connected chapters in a carefully written script. The timeline itself deepens the suspicion. The attempt on Trump's life was still dominating headlines when Kirk was struck. The gap between the two events is suspiciously short, too brief to dismiss as coincidence, yet perfectly timed to maximize fear. To supporters, this does not feel accidental, it feels orchestrated. Could it be that these are not isolated moments, but part of a chain of signals from an unseen hand? A warning that the forces behind the curtain will not stop until the entire MAGA structure has been dismantled piece by piece. For every supporter watching, the dread is growing. First the leader, now the loyal ally. What comes next? And perhaps the most terrifying question of all, who is really pulling the strings? Because if this is a sequence, then the story is far from over. And the next chapter may be even darker than the last. Whenever violence shakes the political world, one question inevitably rises above the chaos: who stands to gain? If Donald Trump and his closest allies were systematically targeted, who would benefit the most from their removal? The obvious answer is the political opposition. Trump remains the central figure of the Republican Party in the face of the MAGA movement. Eliminating him or weakening those in his orbit would open doors for rivals eager to reshape the party in their own image. Without Trump's dominance, without voices like Charlie Kirk amplifying his message, the conservative base might fracture, leaving space for new leadership to emerge. For some, that is not just an advantage, it is the ultimate prize. But the possibilities extend beyond America's internal rivalries. Could foreign interests have a hand in this chaos? For adversaries abroad, a destabilized United States is a golden opportunity. By striking at MAGA's leadership, they wouldn't just silence voices, they would weaken the entire political ecosystem, sow distrust, and deepen divisions already tearing the country apart. The shadow of outside influence looms large, raising suspicions of global power games being played on American soil. Then comes the strange silence. In a country where every headline is dissected, replayed, and debated endlessly, the media's handling of these attacks is unusual. Some major networks reported the shooting with minimal coverage, quickly moving on to other stories. Others seemed almost hesitant, carefully avoiding in-depth analysis. For the MAGA faithful, this wasn't just negligence, it felt deliberate. Was there an invisible hand guiding the narrative, ensuring that public outrage remained contained, that uncomfortable questions never reached the surface? The quiet itself has become louder than the news. Why the restraint? Why the avoidance? Why, at a moment when the nation should demand clarity, are so many voices muted? In the midst of this uncertainty, Donald Trump himself stepped forward. His words cut through the fog with the force of a battle cry. This is not just an attack on Charlie, it is an attack on our entire movement. It was more than a statement, it was a call to arms for his supporters. To them, Trump's message was clear. The bullets were not aimed at a single man, but at millions who believe in the same cause. By framing the attack this way, Trump shifted the narrative from personal tragedy to collective struggle, reinforcing his role not just as a political leader, but as the defender of a besieged movement. For his base, the effect was immediate. Fear gave way to defiance, sorrow turned into solidarity. Trump's words rekindled the fire in a community that already believed itself under siege. And in that moment, conspiracy gave way to conviction. They were not just witnesses to random acts of violence. They were soldiers in a war against unseen enemies. The mystery of who benefits, who hides, and who pulls the strings remains unsolved. But one truth has become undeniable: the battle lines have been drawn deeper than ever before. As investigators circle the crime scene and the public demands answers, speculation begins to swirl. Three dominant theories emerge, each more unsettling than the last, each raising as many questions as it answers. Theory 1, the act of a lone extremist. The simplest explanation is often the first to surface, that the shooting was the work of one man, driven by deep political hatred, acting on impulse rather than orders. Perhaps he despised Charlie Kirk's fiery speeches, his defense of Donald Trump, or the growing strength of the MAGA movement. Perhaps enraged and isolated, he took up a weapon to silence a voice he could no longer tolerate. But the cracks in this theory are glaring. Eyewitnesses describe a shooter who moved with precision, who knew exactly where to stand when to strike, and how to blend into the crowd until the moment of attack. The timing, the accuracy, the preparation, it all feels far too professional for an unstable lone wolf. If this was the act of a single extremist, then it was one executed with unnerving skill. And that alone casts doubt on the narrative of randomness. Theory 2, the hand of a hidden political force. A darker possibility suggests that the attack is not isolated at all, but rather a calculated move within a much larger campaign. The goal to cripple Donald Trump's resurgence before it can gather unstoppable momentum. Targeting Trump himself once was not enough. Now striking down his closest allies, those who amplify his message, energize his base, and carry his movement into new generations, may be the next phase. This theory points toward an invisible coalition, one that might extend beyond America's borders. Could domestic opponents of Trump be quietly coordinating with outside interests who view his return as a threat to their power? Could this be an alliance between political operatives, intelligence networks, and foreign strategists, all united in a single aim to dismantle MAGA from within? If true, then the shooting of Charlie Kirk is not just an act of violence, it is a warning that the battlefield is much larger than anyone has dared admit. Theory 3, a chilling warning shot. And yet another explanation haunts the conversation. What if these attacks are not designed to kill outright, but to send a message or reminder to Trump and his allies that they are never safe, that the walls are closing in, and that their enemies have the power to strike at will? In this view, the blood spilled is not the endgame, but the signal. By instilling fear, by forcing MAGA's leaders to look over their shoulders, the attackers aim to fracture the movement from within. Suspicion grows, trust erodes, unity collapses. The objective is not only to eliminate leaders, but to poison the atmosphere with paranoia and dread, to make every speech a gamble, every rally a potential battlefield. In the hours following the shooting, the nation seemed to split into two Americas. On one side, conservatives gathered in the streets, their candles flickering in the night, their hands clasped in prayer for Charlie Kirk's survival. Vigils spread across small towns and major cities alike. To them, Kirk was more than a man, he was a symbol, a brother in arms who had been struck down for daring to stand alongside Donald Trump. Tears mixed with anger as pastors, veterans, and young students took turns at microphones declaring that this was not just a wound to Charlie, but a wound to America itself. On the other side, skeptics raised their voices. Some openly doubted the entire story, labeling it a staged spectacle designed to harvest sympathy votes and re-energize a struggling campaign. To these critics, the blood, the chaos, the panic, it all felt suspiciously convenient, a political stunt meant to weaponize public emotion in an already divided election year. Their posts dripped with sarcasm, prayers for Charlie, or applause for the best performance money can buy. The battlefield quickly shifted to the digital world. Social media platforms lit up with a storm of speculation. On Twitter now, X hashtags multiplied by the minute. Nachan pray for Charlie, now false flag, Chanchan MAGA under attack. On Facebook, users shared blurry photos and shaky live streams, dissecting every frame as if they were investigators themselves. On TikTok, influencers went viral with rapid-fire breakdowns of the shooting angle, the suspect's escape route, and the inconsistencies in official reports. Everyone became an analyst, everyone a detective, everyone convinced they had uncovered the truth. Conspiracy videos gained millions of views, amplifying fear and mistrust at a pace no news outlet could match. The digital echo chamber became deafening, each theory louder and more alarming than the last. And all of this unfolds against the backdrop of an America already on edge. The timing could not be more explosive. A nation bracing for one of the most contentious election seasons in modern history now finds itself grappling with political violence in real time. Every headline, every speech, every televised debate will now be viewed through the lens of the shooting. The question is no longer just about Charlie Kirk's condition. It is about the balance of power in America. Could this event shift sympathy toward Trump and his allies, galvanizing voters who see them as martyrs under attack? Or will skepticism prevail, feeding into accusations of manipulation and deepening the fractures already tearing the nation apart? The stakes could not be higher. In an election year where every vote counts, every narrative matters, and every image can change history, the shooting of Charlie Kirk is not just an isolated event, it is a spark thrown into dry grass. The fire it ignites may reshape the political battlefield in ways no one can yet predict. From the near-fatal attempt on Donald Trump's life to the shocking shooting of Charlie Kirk, America has been dragged into a sequence of events that feels less like politics and more like a dark chapter in a thriller novel. Yet this is no fiction. These are real bullets, real blood, real lives hanging in the balance. And together they form a chain of moments that leave us with one haunting question. Is there a hidden force attempting to rewrite the very history of American politics? Think about it. First, the image of Trump, blood on his face, the nation gasping, as Secret Service agents rushed him off stage. Now Charlie Kirk, the young general of the MAGA movement, lying wounded, the sound of gunfire still echoing in the ears of those who witnessed it. Two men, two attacks united not only by ideology, but by the fact that they were both marked targets. Can we still call this coincidence? Or must we finally confront the possibility that a larger conspiracy is slowly, methodically unfolding before our eyes? If these incidents are connected, then what does it mean for America's future? Who benefits from silencing Trump and his allies? Is it the political opposition seeking to crush the MAGA wave before it crests again, foreign powers hoping to destabilize the United States from within, or an even darker coalition that hides in the shadows, pulling the strings while the public sees only the chaos? These questions cannot be ignored. They force us to look beyond the headlines, beyond the sound bites, and ask, are we witnessing history being written or history being stolen? And this is where you, the audience, come in. Because this story is not just about Trump, not just about Charlie Kirk. It is about America, about democracy, about whether truth can survive in a storm of violence and secrecy. So I want to hear from you. Do you believe these are isolated tragedies, or are we staring at the first pieces of a much larger puzzle? Who do you think is really behind these chilling events? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice matters in this conversation. And if you want to keep unraveling these mysteries together, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way we can continue shining light on the shadows and asking the questions that others are too afraid to raise. This is not the end of the story. It may only be the beginning.